I don't know what I expected Thailand to be like, but it was exactly that and more. From the moment I stepped off the plane, I was surrounded by people as bright as their culture. I can see why they call it the land of smiles. Everyone we passed was eager to greet us with a sawadi and a Y, which is like their form of wave. The first few days in Bangkok were cool because we really got to explore a new place and a new people so entirely different from our own. As we made our way around the city, I couldn't help but notice the way poverty and progress seemed so perfectly married. There was one point on the river taxi where I looked to my left and saw bamboo huts and luxurious skyscrapers to my right. I realised then how rare and precious this experience would be, knowing that westernisation would soon starve the culture. The Isan province was so opposite our experience in the city. You can drive for hours and see nothing but rice fields and small villages. We were actually living with a local family who'd planted a church years ago in a leper colony. I remember when Marceli, our Thai mum, told us that no one in the colony had leprosy and we couldn't actually catch it. This was quite humorous since we'd worried for 2 weeks that we might lose a toe in the night. We had often wondered how people who had lost so much remained joyful despite all they had been through. We saw this again and again as we did different things with Marceli and her family. Within the first week we had planted rice in their rice fields, made bricks for another church, and made sushi to sell in the night market. This all seemed rather menial until Ma's daughter explained that the rice was to sell to low-income families at an affordable price. The bricks would be used to be the foundation of a church building, and the sushi was to provide income for the basic needs of the church family. There was one week that ended up being entirely devoted to the construction of a concrete road. Ma had the idea of turning this piece of land into a restaurant to connect with and serve the community. We spent hours carrying buckets of sand and rocks across the property to mix loads of concrete until her vision was fulfilled. We got to teach in these Buddhist schools for 2 days. It was a pretty crazy experience, as a group of Christians telling Bible stories, performing skits about self-worth as an avenue to teach English. We didn't anticipate the extravagant welcome and the hospitality we received. I felt like we were almost doing something wrong in their eyes and being rewarded for it. I guess that's the beauty of simple obedience. The feel was quite simple. Isan seemed to lack any of the noise that life brings, and in its absence fill you with small pleasures like children laughing and families sitting on the floor sharing Thai barbecue at the end of a long day. Lines don't exist here between old and young, sick and healthy, rich and poor, foreigner or local. There was just this mutual understanding that we were the same inside and we were created with a purpose, to breach our capacity for love and to care for the needy, the widowed and the orphans. Chiang Mai was a bit full on. It was a culture shock within the same country, going from the rural landscape that was Isan to the urban tourist mecca that is Chiang Mai. We were working with a group there that helps take women out of human trafficking, so we spent a lot of time in the red light district. This was strange in itself because the first time you walk by it, you don't realise what you're looking at. I'll never forget the first time I saw it. We were walking home and there was this couple in front of us, or what seemed to be a couple. I can't explain what that feels like. You hear about it, like I'm telling you now, but until you actually watch a young girl walk home with the man, like he's just bought a pack of cigarettes at the corner shop, flipping them over in his hand. It's easy to separate the comfort of your world from the aggression of this one, but somehow they both exist. It was the same visiting the monks every day. We'd go to this thing called monk chat, where we'd help them practice their English, but ultimately we were there to share the gospel. Again, it was like I almost felt guilty for how little effort we had to put in. We just showed up and they started asking us questions. I'd never wanted to be the type that pushes religion, and we didn't have to be. There's such peace in genuinely wanting to know someone, and such peace when they want to do the same. We found a common ground with the monks, and from this were able to spend a beautiful morning at church together one Sunday. It was hilarious really, walking into a church with an entire row of orange-robed monks, Facebook living our worship service. It's probably one of my favourite memories. I'll never forget when we saw them the next day and they said, "We cannot sing with you, but we are still human. We can still feel happy." He smiled at me. The last thing we did in Chiang Mai was play with the children in the slums on the outskirts of the city. We'd walk through their tightly spaced houses and the children would come running out with huge beaming smiles, excited to be there and to be wild and chaotic, just the way they were created to be. We made some pretty good friends there. They even came to play Uno with us at our cafe and to the bus station to see us off when we left. In one moment I could feel everything this trip had been, everything Thailand had been. The sound of the rain falling unforgivingly on the still ocean, dangerous yet gentle, the unfamiliar smell of the salt water in the air, and the vast intimacy of the fog as it closed in around us. The way it feels when you finally surrender to his loving embrace. I'll never live that moment again, and I think that's exactly the point.